two girls were fighting, but you might need glasses to see if somebody was shooting a gun, you know.
Exactly.
And that never came up. His vision. So,
man, you should have been Tory Lanez's lawyer.
well, if I was Tory Lanez's lawyer, I would have never brought Sean Kelly to testify. I felt like after the DNA evidence was presented, after the GSR evidence was presented, there was enough reasonable doubt that weighed in favor of the defense. But once Sean Kelly testified and puts the gun in the little guy's hand, it almost erases all that reasonable doubt that you spent so many days the week before building.
Mind you, can't really blame them because they're thinking, just for the people, they're thinking that he's gonna sway toward, towards the defense.
Well, they had to know that he was going to say some things. They interviewed this guy at length. They interviewed him, and they knew that he was going to say some things that were not necessarily accurate, but they did know he's the only person that's going to say that the two girls were fighting. And I think that was the value the defense found in him, that the two girls were fighting and that the muzzle flash came from a woman first. And he did tell the defense investigators initially that during the first muzzle flash, the little guy hadn't got out the car.
Oh, wow.
And I thought that was a significant point that weighed in the favor of the defense. But then on cross-examination, the prosecution asked some questions that pretty much kind of showed that Sean Kelly might be a little confused. Maybe the muzzle flash came after Tory got out the car. Maybe it was when he was in the car. I mean, the dude was all over the place. Sean Kelly was all over the place.
So there it is. Then this is why he got found guilty, and he should have. What is in your eyes? Is he reliable? Is he a tainted witness, or I don't know? How would you say?
Every witness, you got to pick and choose where you feel they're credible. And, the jury has the option to completely dismiss the testimony of a witness if they feel that they're not credible or if they lied. I don't think you can say that Sean Kelly lied, but you can definitely say that Sean Kelly may not have a good memory of what happened, or maybe looked at what was going on and interpreted something completely different, especially when he says they were all over there kicking and beating up on Megan Thee Stallion. That just doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
Now, I'm not saying that he did. Maybe from what he saw, it looked like they went over there, was beating on her, but it obviously wasn't. They were going over there to get it. And then after he says they were beating on her, he said he thought they were going to throw her into the river on the side of the road. Which I was like, wow.
Now he watches too many movies.
He made this group of three people into like some
mob movie,
serial killers or something. We're gonna dump this body in the river. But then he said they just picked her up and took her into the car and drove off.
All right, he gonna make Meg sleep with the fishes tonight. But okay, how many more flashes does he say after that? Can you break? I'm not sure if you have your notes, but can you be so kind of break it down?
Well, he did say that after he thinks he sees the flash coming from the woman, and then he sees the little guy shoot, the prosecution says, well, how many times do you think the little guy shot? And he said, well, he had his arm extended, and he said, I heard about 4 to 5 shots. And that's really what did it. Because that's how many shots it was. It was 5. It was a total of 5 shots.
Because the theory is that Kelsey shot. I want to ask you about that. Kelsey shot, and Tory basically grabs a gun and shoots in the air, and that's where the other muzzles off. Those are the other flat shots.
That's a theory that a lot of people threw out there. But if you listen to the gunshots, they have audio of the gunshots from a ring camera nearby, and it's clearly one shooter. And it goes like this: boom, 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 boom. So there's a pause between the 3rd and 5th shot. Boom, 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 boom. Now Sean Kelly says he he sees one muzzle flash from the girl, and then the little guy has the gun after. There's no way that there's one shot and then a second person gets the gun and shoots. So we understand there's one shooter. There's only one shooter. There's one gun, there's one shooter. So you got to kind of pick and choose from Sean Kelly's testimony and make it make sense to yourself.
What is your personal opinion? Do you think Kelsey is the only shooter, or who is the shooter in your eyes?
I really can't say. I could see it both ways.
Okay.
I could see it both ways. I was really leaning towards Kelsey Harris being the shooter without hearing Sean Kelly's testimony, because they showed that she had motive because they just had a fight.
Right.
And they also showed she had opportunity because the gun was found in an area where her Louis Vuitton bag was and her luggage was.
Mm-hmm.
So I could completely understand if someone believes Kelsey is the shooter.
Wow. Okay, let me ask you this. I know it may sound a little crazy, but do you think there's anything happen between the prosecution and the witness, Sean Kelly, that happened under the table, a deal or something that was promised him to sway his testimony towards the prosecution, or maybe he was just confused during cross-examination? How do you explain? Yeah, what do you think? Because
I think the prosecution asked him questions that no one ever asked him before. And that's why we heard the answers that we heard. I don't really think Sean Kelly is trying to like pick a side either or. He really seemed like a neutral witness. It didn't seem like he wanted to say anything negative about anybody. He came off as just a guy that saw something crazy out the window of his balcony, and he didn't want no part of this, but he got dragged into this case and he answered the questions as best as he can. And the reason why these answers that he gave during the cross-examination was because he was never asked these questions before. Right. And I'm not even sure if the defense asked him any of these questions before. We don't really have a transcript of the interview that they had with Sean Kelly before. Now, if the defense specifically asked him, did you ever see the little guy with the gun? And he says no, and then he comes into court and says he sees the little guy with the gun, the defense would have said, why are you changing your story? But that's not what happened in the court. What happened was he added to the story, and he said new things, but those new things that he said doesn't contradict the old things that he said.
I see. Okay.